Three, two, one. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Drewski with Cryptid Warfare and Conspiracies Podcast and CW Operations and Survival. Hope you guys had a blessed week, good weekend, and we're about a week out from Independence Day. So, anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a good week. If you guys got an encounter, you guys want to chit chat, or you guys need any prayer requests or anything like that, go ahead and shoot me an email. cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. That's cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. Or you can hit me up on Instagram, Cryptid Warfare, or Facebook. And we also got TikTok as well. Also, too, if you guys are having any critter problems, paranormal problems, or you guys need any advice or anything when it comes to spiritual warfare, anything like that, go ahead and shoot me an email. That's c.woperations17905@gmail.com. So we're more of like a consultant or critter hitters for hire. So you guys got any questions, let me know at either Gmail. So, all right, other than that, guys, like I said, everything I say and have when it comes to websites or anything like that and Gmails will be in the show notes. Guys, let's get to the guest today, Mr. Robert C. Brother, I appreciate you and thank you for your service, brother.
Thank you.
From one law enforcement first responder to ex-military guy. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, 100%, man. All right, man. Other than that, basically, you and I have been chit-chatting for a little bit, and we're just go ahead and we're just gonna jump right into it, brother.
Okay.
So, where did all this cryptid and paranormal things start for you, man?
Probably when I was around, the first time I experienced something of that nature, probably I was around 12 years old.
Yeah.
And what the scenario was or whatever, I had a very good friend of mine growing up. I'm not going to mention her name because I live in a very small town. And out of respect for the family, I'm not going to say a lot. But I had a friend of mine growing up, and she was killed in a car accident. And the night before or the night of the accident, I was in bed. And I had a dream that she came into my room and sat down at the foot of my bed and started talking to me. I had the wherewithal to know it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, why are you here? She goes, well, I just need to talk to you about some things. And I want to tell you bye. I'm leaving for a little while. Well, none of us had money to travel. I mean, we grew up in a little town poor. And I said, where are you going? She goes, I can't tell you right now. And she goes, but I want to tell you I love you. And I want to tell you goodbye, that I will see you later. And then she was gone.
Yeah.
She was wearing a pink sweater and a pair of jeans. Well, the next morning, my mom informed me that this person had been killed in an accident the night before. And what I had seen her wearing in my dream, or if you want to call it a dream, was the same thing that she had passed away in the automobile accident. And this is honestly, I mean, I've told a few people here and there, but I grew up in a very small town, a very Christian small town, a very strict church. And you didn't talk about stuff like this when I was growing up because that was the devil.
Yeah.
And the Bible talks about spirits, appearing before you and evil spirits, and you just didn't talk about that. And this is actually the first time that I've actually been willing to, or I'm going into a deeper depth of this, because even as an adult, I came back after my military experience and everything. I moved to the same little town, and it's just something you still don't talk about is, ghosts coming to see you or things like that. So that was my very first. And now I live in a house that used to be a group home. And, it was a group home for a couple of years. It was a group home for adults with special needs. And I do have a service dog. And sometimes she'll just start barking at corners of the house. And she is the most friendliest, loving dog you will ever meet. She's a Belgian Malinois. And she loves everybody. But there are times when she will just stare into the corner of the house, just random corners. And she'll just start growling this deep guttural growl. and her hackles are all standing up and things like that. And I'm like, wow. So for the first time ever in my life, because it was a sin growing up, I spoke out loud. I said, listen, I don't have a problem with you being here. You don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. I said, you were here first. It's your house. Thank you for letting me stay here. And honestly, ironically enough, the corner growling that my dog did kind of slowed down a lot. Like now it's maybe every 3 or 4 months, she'll flick up and look at a corner and stand up and the ears are up, but then she'll lay back down. So that is my 2 big experiences that I have had. When you're taught as a child not to believe in this kind of thing, and then it's evil, and you do start seeing these things, it kind of takes a toll on your mind.
Yeah.
Because you're like, wait a minute, why are they coming to see me? Have I done something bad? Am I slipping in my faith? You know, what is it? Because, like I said, you just didn't talk about it. So, I mean, little stuff like that, it's really kind of neat. I think that the fact that she came to see me to say goodbye, that meant the world to me. That told me that, you know, she loved me as a friend. I was like an older brother. I'm sorry, a younger brother. She was 3 months older than me. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, this is the first forum that I've had where I can openly talk about this.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate it, brother. I really do. I appreciate you coming on and being honest and open with that.
Oh yeah, it's nice to finally air it and say it, because I had another. Well, let me back up. You know, we're taught growing up, and you may have been taught the same way, that if the Bible mentions this or doesn't mention this, it's either of God or not of God. Yeah. And it's a very fine line. And I mean, I've seen things like, you know, that growing up. We were at Fort Stewart, which is in South Georgia, and it was around 2000, because we were gearing up to go to Bosnia, and we were on a live fire range, the Red Cloud Ranges at Fort Stewart, and a light came over the ranges, and it was a small light, so you really couldn't tell if it was way up high, and it was dark. You couldn't tell if it was way up high and a big something or really low, but it literally shot out over the range, sat for a second, and did a 90-degree turn to the north.
Wow.
I mean, and it was ironic enough, because we're like, hey, what is that? And then every range at Fort Stewart, and they're all kind of lined up, announced a ceasefire all at the same time. Ceasefire, weapons freeze. And what that means is, whatever happens, you lay everything down. Whether you were shooting or getting ready to shoot, you don't unload, you don't do nothing. You lay everything down and you back away, because this is something serious. And the couple of us saw the light. Some people wasn't even paying attention, but I've never seen a range shut down like that. All ranges shut down for something of that nature. Now, if there's an accident on a range, we had a guy that had a mortar accident. He got his hand. All the ranges shut down for a safety, you know, and stuff like that I get, but there was no reason for the range to shut down safety-wise for a light in the sky.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen things in Germany, but like I said, growing up as a young Christian male in a small town, even once you join the military, you get out in the world, these roots are still there. The seed has been planted. So you don't mention it. And yeah, but that's a lot of my existence with the paranormal. I see things out of the corner of my eye, especially here at home. I've seen somebody come out of the hallway into the kitchen, but it was just a brief glimpse, just a fragmented glimpse of, you know, of a person, what I think to be a person. Then, you know, that's the first thing my mind goes to. Yeah. As a person. And believe it or not, I don't know if your show covers all of this, but, you know, is it a spirit walking in front of me, or is it another dimension that's encroaching and we just met, like quantum entanglement, where our dimensions and our realities cross for just a second and then they uncross. So, but that's been a lot of my experiences. If you'd like to ask me any questions for your audience or anything
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, okay. So going back to the shooting range, I'm sure there had to be a lot of chatter in the barracks, a lot of chatter on the gun range.
We
What
all
did
said
you?
we
What
said
do you?
UFO from the word go.
Yeah,
And
right off the
and,
rip. Yeah,
and technically it is a UFO because if you
yeah.
look at UFO, it's just something that's
Identify.
flying that you have not identified yet. It
Mm-hmm.
could be a helicopter, it could be an airplane, it could be a balloon, it could be, well, there was no drones back then. I mean, there were drones, but not like there are now.
Yeah.
Everybody didn't have a drone. So we all thought eventually from the word go, alien UFO, because of the way it moved.
Yeah.
It did not move like a traditional aircraft at all. I mean, it was hauling butt, almost a blur across the sky, and it just stopped and just 90-degree went the other way, and it was gone.
That's cool.
Oh, it would. It's one of those things where you're kind of hanging out on the range. You're all kind of bored. You're hot. You've been there all day. Now it's time for your night fire exercise. You're like, Jesus, let's just get this over with
Yep.
already. So it was like 9 or 10 o'clock, and we only had maybe 40 or 50 more people to run through the night range, and we were done. We were finished. We could go back, take a shower, maybe get something to eat, and get ready for the next day. And this thing shut, we have 40 or 50 people left to fire. This thing shut the ranges down for like 4 hours.
Dang.
And we're like, and we couldn't even leave the range. We're like, well, okay, we'll just leave. And when y'all get everything situated, we'll come back. They're like, no, nobody's leaving. And literally, we were stuck in place for like 4 hours until they opened the range back up with no expectations. And granted, the military doesn't have to give you they don't have to explain anything to you. They just say, do it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I live in the country now in North Georgia. And, there's a lot of stuff on this world that I can't explain. There's things that I've seen that I can't explain, but you don't mention them to nobody because everybody will think you're crazy.
Yeah.
There's been things behind my house. I've got 40 acres behind my house. And like I said, in North Georgia mountains, I've heard things there that I can't explain. And I grew up in the country. A lot of stuff I hear, I'm like, oh, that's this. Those are squirrels, So there's things that I hear that I can't explain. And the older I get, and I guess the wiser I get, the more open-minded I get to things. I'm like, maybe this stuff can exist in the world and we just haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I am fully open to the thing. We're discovering new species of bugs all the time.
Yeah.
We're always finding new species of fish, sometimes little birds. We're finding new species all the time. So why can't this other be real also? And we just haven't figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my experience. Like I said, I'm open to it. I haven't had an opportunity to go looking for things.
Yeah.
Because I do find it interesting, but at the same time, it's kind of scary because the way you're taught, you summon spirits or go looking for spirits, you're going to find them,
100%.
and it's not going to be a good thing when you find them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as a child, that it's one of those things you just bury. You don't think about it. And I was listening to one of your podcasts, and it really made me think of, being visited by the person that was like my sister. And I started thinking about that a lot, putting a lot of thought into it, which made me start leading to other things in my mind that I really haven't thought about in years because you bury it.
Yep.
So I don't know if you've had any experience with family members or friends visiting you or dreams of that nature. I would love to hear if other people have had this happen to them, them sleeping and the night of the passing of whoever, that person comes to them.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, as far as that, you are the first one that has, but I've had a couple people recently, they weren't on the podcast, but they came and we've actually talked. This one person I was talking to out of California, he had his best friend a week prior come to him in his dream and told him, hey, I love you. I want to know everything's okay. Just want to let you know, I want you to look after my kid. And he's like, what the heck are you talking about? Well, his buddy was on away on a business trip. And as he was flying back, he had like a heart attack on the plane.
Oh, wow.
And he passed. And when he landed, of course, you had to get all the medical and all the freaking law enforcement stuff, everybody there, and had to do all that spiel. And then when this guy was at work, his wife called him and let him know, hey, your best friend so-and-so died. And he's like, what? And then I just totally like messed with him. And he's like, he literally came to me in a dream and told me a week prior about when everything was about, basically to him telling me like goodbye. Yeah,
that's crazy. It sounds like your friend's friend had the same message as my friend. Hey, yeah. I'm going away, but everything's okay.
Yeah.
It's almost like they were worried about how we're going to feel after we hear the news of the event.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some of your viewers, I'm sure that after seeing this, some of them are going to think back and go, wait a minute, I had this dream, or I had this vision, or things like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guarantee it, man. And that is one thing I want everybody to know about this podcast, is that I want everybody to know that it is a safe place for you guys to come on, safe place for you guys to listen, and a safe place for you guys to realize, hey, I'm not the only one out here this stuff happening to. I want you guys to find a community that there's people out here that, like me, like seeing shadow people, running in the cryptids, ghostly encounters, stuff like that. There are things out there that happen, Not only that, the Bible doesn't reference everything that happens in this world. No. It don't. It only gives you instructions to preach, to basically show you on what Jesus came down on this earth and what he did for us. It was basically God chasing after his people and letting people know that he loves them, he died for them, and all that. But as far as everything else, when it comes to demonology, when it comes to, stuff like that, it doesn't go into detail. It just mentions it, maybe just like a little fraction of it. But cryptids, everything else, it really doesn't dive deep into that. All the stuff, it really doesn't dive deep. It only dives deep into what Jesus' story was about and what he needs you to do for him. That's it.
It doesn't talk about dinosaurs in the Bible, but yet we have bones.
Not.
But yet we have proof. And I'm not saying the Bible is this and this and this. I'm not getting into all of that. But there's a lot of things currently that we find from the past, from hundreds and thousands of years ago, that the Bible didn't mention, but it was there. When I went to Iraq, I got to go to the Temple of Ur, which is Abraham's birthplace.
Yeah.
And there's a great big pyramid type structure. And when you walk on, and granted I was there, not as a tourist.
Yeah.
But when you walk on to the premises of the Temple of Ur, there's an energy swap. There's an energy change.
Yeah.
And it's not bad energy. It's not good energy. It's just different. I grew up in an Assemblies of God church. I have watched a 7-year-old girl going nuts they said that, she was possessed by something. And I watched her throw grown men, things like that, but you don't talk about it. You see it. We all see it, but we don't talk about it. But that little girl, she was tiny and she was throwing people like rag dolls.
Yep.
And they were trying to lay hands on her and cast out whatever it was in her. And whatever it was said, no, you're not. And it was a fight. It was an honest to goodness fight. People talk about spiritual warfare, and it's real.
100%.
You can't believe, in my opinion, you can't believe in angels and demons, without, thinking about, oh, wait a minute, the Bible does talk about these evil beings coming to earth and appearing before us.
Yep.
But do I believe it? I want to. I don't think demons and things like that I believe in 100%, without a doubt. I have seen physical things that back that up. Ghost, I watch a lot of these shows and you're like, the door slams, but they never show who was behind the door slamming it.
Yeah.
Or what's ironic enough is no matter what country they're in searching for ghosts and spirits, they're always speaking English.
Yep.
And the ghost always answers them in English. They get the little static box.
Yeah,
I love that.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. The little static box. And all of a sudden you'll hear messages coming through that. Now they're in France and they're contacting somebody from the late 1800s, not early 1900s, but he's answering them in English.
Yeah.
I want the opportunity to say, hey, I saw this and I can't explain it. There's no reasonable explanation. because with AI and everything today on television, I'm sure you've seen it. A lot of this stuff, you're like, do I really want to, was that real or was it AI? Was it, was it just TV? But the things that I have seen in person, I can't deny that. The dream I had as a child, I can't deny that. And that has not happened to me since. I just recently said, I was up at Walter Reed. I've had a couple of surgeries up there. And my very first roommate at Walter Reed just took his own life.
Yeah.
And we were fairly close. No message from him, nothing. I'd like to know maybe why some people are chosen to see these things and others are not.
Yeah.
Do you have to be open to it, to see it? And my big thing with ghosts was, you always come out and the chairs are all stacked up. The cabinets are all open.
Mm-hmm.
How come they never do the dishes?
Right.
How come they never, sweep the floor? It's always a negative. And the very first, I'll call supernatural experience that I had was very positive.
Yeah.
When I saw her, I was not afraid. And it was just as real as me sitting on the foot of the bed if I was sitting next to you, almost touching. It was that real. I could smell her perfume. I could feel her weight when she would shift, how the bed moves. I could feel that. We talked for like 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up and, it wasn't, she floated away into a mist or anything. It's just, we were talking and next thing I know, I'm waking up the next morning.
Yeah.
But I would like to be, maybe this will help others who hear this or they see this podcast. Maybe this will help them to come forward to say, hey, I'm not weird. Other people have seen this too. I'm not strange. I'm not crazy. Because the first time you see it, especially, the way we grew up, is you think you're crazy. That's the first answer to everything is, I'm crazy. I'm seeing things. I'm going off the deep end now. So, but I haven't had an experience like that since.
Yeah.
But do I believe it was really her coming to see me? Yeah.
I do too. I do too, man. Yeah, I do too.
I have no doubt. Like I said, the way she spoke, you have dreams about people and all of your dreams are kind of weird. There's always, if you think about it, there's always something that's a little off.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was very real. It was very, you could tell she was burdened when she was speaking.
Mm-hmm.
She looked worried. She had been sweating and her hair was wet.
Yeah.
And when she had her accident, she flipped her car over in a creek and drowned. So I told, later I told my mom about this. And she had finally told me, this is about like 6 months later. And when you're a 12-year-old, your mom's not going to talk to you about how your friend died. It's just they had a car wreck and they died. End of story. And I finally got with my mother and I said, listen, this is what happened. This is what I saw. And I described everything to her in detail. And that's when I found out that, yes, she was wearing the pink sweater. Yes, she was wearing jeans. And her hair was wet because she flipped over in a creek and drowned. And with the three factors, all pointing, it makes it very real to me. If there's just one coincidence, okay. But when things start lining up,
yes,
and it's A, B, C, D, everything is lining up. You can't deny that, and you can't argue that at all. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's yeah. Hearing this, I do believe that God allowed your friend to come to you, to me, as like closure, like, you know what I'm saying, to prepare you for all that, and not only that, to gift you with one more chance on talking to her,
and what a gift it was.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you hear family members, like if you got a senior family member and they're sick, they're passing, and you get to the house, you have a small conversation with that person, and then they pass.
Yeah.
Does God allow that person to remain on earth with us just for a few more minutes, just so he can ease the heart of someone else, make them feel a little bit better in the passing, to make them relax and let them know that, hey, this person passed or is passing, but everything's going to be okay. It's almost like my friend had already gone to heaven. She was already there. I mean, the Bible talks about it's that quick. And maybe she had a conversation with God, possibly.
Yeah.
But whatever happened, she was allowed, like you said, I think that's a perfect word. And I never thought about it that way. She was allowed to come back and visit for a second for closure for me. That, to me, closure is very important. 100%. I sat there when my mom passed, I was with her holding her hand.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, my mother was a strong Christian woman. She was so Christian. This is no joke. If a telemarketer called my mother's house, okay, she would say, I will listen to your spiel, but you've got to listen to my spiel first. Normally they're like, okay, what's your spiel? And her first words out of her mouth is, how is your walk with Christ?
Bam.
Normally, you want to end a telemarketer call real quick without being rude. And believe it or not, out of all the years that she done that, there's probably like 3 or 4 telemarketers that actually stayed on the phone with her and said, it's ironic that you asked me that because this or because of that. And literally she has sat and prayed with people, telemarketers over the phone.
Yeah.
And it when my mother passed, I didn't get upset. As a matter of fact, I didn't shed a tear, and it wasn't out of anger or hate or nothing like that. It's just when my mother passed, she took in a big, deep breath. It exited so peaceful. And she'd been struggling to breathe for a couple of days.
Yeah.
She was in hospice, and she was unconscious. But she'd been struggling. You could tell there was struggling there.
Yeah.
But the last 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute of her life, her breathing cleared up, her body relaxed. I felt all the muscles relax in her body because she was tense. And she breathed in that last breath and let it out, and she was gone. I called the nurse, and they confirmed. But I was at peace with her passing.
Yeah.
I really was. I mean, people say you lose a parent, it takes forever to get over. And I'm sure for some people it do. But my friends that have, and I'm not trying to judge anyone saying you're not a Christian versus I'm a Christian, none of that. But I noticed that my friends, my colleagues that have Christian parents or a Christian friend that passes, it is so much easier on them than it is for somebody who's not following the path, somebody who's not saved.
Yeah.
Those guys seem to suffer a lot more in one's passing than, a believer's. I would really like to talk to somebody maybe who knows a lot more about it than me, who says maybe, other examples of where God's let somebody come back. I'm sure there's places in the Bible that I'm not thinking of that, that came to people in their dreams. And I think, and I know there's a lot of stuff that happened in dreams in the Bible. There's a lot of people who said, I laid my head down and I had a vision. The Bible does talk about visions, and there's good visions in the Bible, and there's not so good visions in the Bible. So do I think we still see visions of things now? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, well, when you said that, it kind of brought me to, King Saul, when he went to go see like the Witch of Endor.
Right.
And yeah. And he needed to talk to Ezekiel. I think it was Ezekiel or Elijah, one of the two. Anyways, yeah. So he needed to talk to him because, for one, he was a prophet, but he was already dead. So God allowed him to come through that and talk to him a little bit and basically to tell him, hey, what you're doing is wrong, all that stuff. But yeah, I do remember that God allowed that prophet to come down and to talk to King Saul for a little bit.
I think that's where the Bible actually starts talking about mediums and stuff like that also.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, but that's the only thing that kind of recollects to my mind. Other than that, yeah, that's about it for me. But Yeah, man. Yeah. So other than that, yeah, but that is my thought though. Yeah, God definitely allowed her to come down to give you, to give you some closure and to get one good last conversation in. You know what I'm saying?
And like I said, I am thankful for that. Super,
Yeah.
super, super thankful. And I know that, just to change lanes a second, I also know that you do the whole cryptid side and the cryptozoology side. And brother, I need you to show up at my house because there's things behind my house that I can't explain.
Gotcha.
There's noises. My dog, she will chase bears out of the yard. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
And when we hear these things out back, she is literally glued to my side, doesn't want to move.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that lives back there, which they were here first, I'm not messing with them. um, we're going to leave it there. But if you're welcome to come and set up cameras, recordings, or anything like that. There's a lot of lore, folklore and lore and everything that goes on about where I live in North Georgia. Southern Tennessee. That would be Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina, up in
Yeah.
the mountains. There's just a
Mhm.
lot of things that are up here creeping around, and we just haven't found it yet.
Yep, I agree, man. Yeah, me and a couple guys went out to, oh gosh, Mountain City, Tennessee, like 2 years ago, and
Oh, okay.
we actually had a crazy encounter out there. But yeah, that's actually where like the Appalachians and everything, like the whole thing starts. But yeah, but we actually had a couple things, and ever since then, I will not go out with a team of less than 5 guys ever,
Really?
ever.
Wow. One place I want to visit, it's kind of local to me. It's only 2 or 3 hours away. Is Canes Cove. I don't know if
Canes
you're familiar.
Cove, yeah,
Yeah, brother, there's some weird, and I've talked to actual witnesses. Not I heard from my uncle who was drunk on wild turkey that night. No, I've heard from actual law enforcement officers, military personnel, professional type people
yeah,
who have said there's things running around in Canes Cove that cannot whatsoever be explained. I've heard it mentioned as a portal. I mean, and when one or two people that are together say the same thing, especially in law enforcement, we're like, yeah, okay, they're feeding into each other's story. They're sitting here right here together. They've been friends forever, and all of a sudden, both of them had the exact same experience. But like up there and here in North Georgia, when you have multiple people from multiple different backgrounds, multiple different social circles, it would be like, if somebody did not watch your podcast, they did not believe in cryptozoology or any of this, and they come down and we see them at the store and they're like, hey, so I was camping last night and this happened.
yeah,
I tend to believe that over, one or two guys who's drinking wild turkey and sitting around the campfire.
hmm yeah,
There are things up here that we can't explain. I just want to see them and find them. That
yeah,
way I can say, no doubt that yes, A, B, or C does exist.
hmm
And I
yeah,
think that's great at what your podcast does is it gets the information out there.
yeah. I agree,
And
man.
one thing you remind me of a little bit, and I'm going to back up a little bit. When I first probably was in my 20s or 30s, like I said, I was brand new in the army, and you didn't talk about ghosts, nothing. Well, I was on the night shift, okay, with what I had to do, and I found Dreamland with Art Bell,
Oh yes,
brother.
Art Bell's
Oh
so
my
good. Yeah,
brother,
when
and
he was alive. Yeah,
yeah, it's so sad that he passed. But one thing I liked about Art Bell is no matter who he had on his show, he didn't judge them at all. And that's
yep,
kind of what your show reminds me of. He wasn't for what they were saying or against what they were saying. He would allow them to come on the show, present their whatever, and then he would ask educated questions. But there was never judging.
mm,
And it was Art Bell and Dreamland and all of it where I learned that maybe what I saw was a UFO. Because once again, you have all these people, and you've got crazy people everywhere. Don't get me wrong. You've got people
yeah,
that'll stay stuff just for attention. And you kind of recognize those people because they're flamboyant and you can tell they're just looking for attention.
yeah,
But, some of the guys that would call in on Art Bell's show they were very high ranking military people or government people. And they're like, I don't believe in this, not one bit, but this is what I saw. And I can't deny what I saw.
yep,
So is it out there? Absolutely. My dad, he was a Navy diver. He's still living, but he was a saturation diver. He went really
Yeah.
deep and he saw things in the ocean that he won't
Oh,
talk about
buddy.
today.
Buddy.
He,
Yes, I'm sure he's got stories.
oh, bro, it's crazy some of the things that he saw when he was in the Navy, you know. And my dad, he's not afraid of much. I mean,
Yeah.
he is in his 70s, and I'll just say he's still doing wet work
Yeah.
for the government. He doesn't cower from much. I mean, he is pretty headstrong. And there's times where you can see it in his face if he's talking about one of his dives that something happened, but he won't tell you what happened.
Yeah.
But you can look on his face that it scared the crap out of him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. One thing that gets me is the ocean, brother. Especially you go deep. That just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'd rather be in the mountains, like land, like something about the ocean, man. Oh,
Well, this is the way I heard the ocean. The fear of not being able to see your feet or what's around your feet.
yeah,
If you're at the beach. I have seen, my dad's in Florida and we still dive and things like that. And I've had the hair on the back of my neck stand up diving. I didn't see anything, but it was enough to make you stop. And they teach you one of the things, I don't know if you ever got to scuba dive, but one of the things they teach you is no matter what, don't panic.
Yep.
That'll get you dead right there underwater when you start panicking. And I was diving once and it was off the coast of Melbourne Beach, way out. We was looking for a shipwreck. And we don't do this professionally. We do this just for fun.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go dive. And I was swimming down to this wreck. And all of a sudden, I was terrified just out of nowhere. It was like somebody threw a bucket of cold water on me underwater, and I was frozen with fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's never happened to me underwater. And I had to slow my breathing down, and I went back up. And I told my dad, I made the symbol that I was going back up. And I told him, I said, I'm not diving here. No way. Nope.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think that things are out there. I would really like to see them. I would like to hear, and I can't wait for this to air, and hopefully get some of your viewer comments on this to see how many of them have experienced the same things that I have, and to let them know also that they're not alone in the way they think. One thing that's important to me as a disabled veteran, I suffer with PTSD and, depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. So it's important to me to reach out to other people going, hey, you're depressed, you're angry, you're not alone. And then they can talk about it. They're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And then it's easier for them to talk about, no matter what it is. If they have somebody with a shared experience and they're not making fun of them, it's easier for them to talk about. And that's kind of why I agreed to this. I'm sure there's other folks out there that have seen things like this, that have experienced things like this, and they don't want to talk about it because of what their family might think or what their community might think or anything like that. So I'm hoping this gives them the courage to open up a little bit to say, hey, that happened to me too, but it happened like this. I'm really looking forward. I think you have comments and stuff after your podcast, don't you?
I
normally.
do.
So I'm super excited to go back and start reading the comments on this.
Yeah, I will. 100% too. I'll actually, of course, I'm gonna put this on YouTube, and with this stuff, like even though I record it, I don't edit it. I just let it go raw for how it is, and I am excited too. I know for a fact there's people out there who have experienced this stuff, but they're just kind of right on that fence edge.
They need nudge just a little bit. They need that motivation.
Exactly, man.
And the fact that you don't make fun of, you don't make fun of people. You honestly sit and listen to what they have to say with an open mind.
Yeah.
That helps a lot also, because even when I was working in law enforcement, it would be nothing for me to look at somebody and go, all right, what did you see this time?
Mm-hmm. I remember those days. Yeah.
That doesn't inspire confidence in the person. Because first thing, they don't want to look stupid in front of somebody.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, nothing. It was nothing. I imagined it, or I made it up, or, whatever. But if you look at somebody and do like you've done and you sit down with them and say, I'm really interested in your experience. Please tell me about it.
Yeah.
It just chills the mood completely to think that somebody's actually interested in something that I've gone through.
Mhm.
They're not judging me. Maybe they want to learn from it,
Yeah.
and that's what we do from each other. We don't know everything, but, let's say if you were my friend and we had hung out for 20 years, we have different lifestyles. So I'm going to learn things from you. You're going to learn things from me. And to me, that's what makes the world go round.
Oh yeah.
But I appreciate the fact that with you, there's no sarcasm.
No,
There's
man.
no, okay, yeah, right, buddy. You know, when's the last time you drank? So,
Yeah.
you, but
Yeah. I
I,
hear
I'm
that, man. Yeah, I hear that, man. But you know what? To me, everybody has a story, my friend. Everybody's got a story, and it doesn't matter how small it is, how big it is. Everybody's important. Everybody has a story, and that's just it, man. And that's how I look at it. Be humble, listen to people, let them tell your story, learn from it, and just go on from there. And that's what helped me out. Being prior law enforcement on SWAT and stuff. Asking people like, "All right, what's going on?" No, 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 no. You go up to them and be like, "Hey, man, come over here real quick. Let's talk a little bit. What happened?"
I was
Just
taught to be
listen.
sympathetic to their calls at the moment.
Hmm.
Even if I disagree with it, even if I
Yep.
think it's the dumbest thing ever, when I am with you and you're honestly, I can tell you're honestly afraid, you're just, whatever, I am going to make you think that no matter what, I am sympathetic to your cause.
Hmm.
And that will bring those walls down a little bit.
Oh,
Whether I
hundred
believe in it or
percent.
not doesn't
Yes.
matter at that point. They think I believe them, you know. And then you get to looking at, they give you all these details. And then you start looking around, you start your investigation, and you can learn that, wait a minute, some of what they're saying is true.
Hmm.
Here's evidence. The
Yeah.
person's not crazy. So I appreciate what you do, brother. I don't know if you have a lot of people that tell you that,
No, not really, but I appreciate it.
but no, the fact that you take time out of your day, I'm sure you work.
Yeah.
I'm sure that running a podcast takes up some time to prep for.
It
And,
does.
a lot of people have to do all the editing. You just slap it up there, which I admire. Straight through is better for me
Yeah.
because that shows me you're not hiding anything.
No.
If with something like this, let's just say, you were out on one of your expeditions in the woods, and all of a sudden, oh, we hear something, and then there's a cut, and then
Mhm.
there's a bush shaking.
Yeah.
No, I would rather see the camera swing over without a break to
Yeah.
say, "Hey, you're seeing what I'm seeing as
Yeah.
it happens," and to me, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's no fakery, there's no foul play, there's no foolery. This is what it is. Take it
Yep.
for what it's worth.
I agree 100%, man. So, other than that, yeah, dude, I appreciate you coming on, being open and honest and humble and being brave. I do appreciate that, man, 100%. And I'm honored to hear that story about your friend and everything.
Thank you.
Um, as far as that, I know you and I are totally like minded, being prior law enforcement and stuff.
I need evidence.
What's your EDC? And I always ask guys this who are prior military or prior law
right,
enforcement.
right now, I'm carrying a SIG 365.
Okay, there you go.
I either go between a SIG or a Glock 19.
There you go. Okay.
But with the way the world's going today, without putting too much out there, my AR is in my truck. I don't hide the fact that, you know, my background is Jewish. And with everything going on in the world today, I'm really starting to be proud of that. That was something another little thing in a small town. You didn't talk about being a Jew when the Klan's burning crosses at the local park and the police and everybody's there burning the cross. But no, I'm Jewish, and I'm carrying my AR. I've got a sidearm with me everywhere I go, and my AR is in the truck with enough rounds to take care of me and those around me.
There you go.
So, but that is my EDC. What is yours?
So I'm kind of like a little nut, but of course I work about a good 30 to 40 minutes away. So I always have like a get home bag with all my
Okay.
essentials in there, right? I carry either a Glock 19 or if not a Smith & Wesson 2.0 40 cal.
Oh, nice.
I always have 4 mags on me when it comes to that. 2 in the bag, 2 on me. I always carry a couple tourniquets, IFAC with that. I always have like my war belt in the in my vehicle just in case. And yeah, man, that's about it. It depends on how far I'm traveling. If I'm traveling like an hour out, if I'm traveling like an hour away, I always bring my AR with my chest rig tucked away. That's it. So,
And I'm the same way. It depends on where I'm going. Around here in my small town, just about everybody carries, and they're not going to put up with no foolery where I live. I mean, they're all about let you be you, let me be me. You know, you stay out of my face, I'll stay out of your face, and we'll all love each other.
yeah.
And where I live, I only carry, if I'm just going to the grocery store or something, I only carry my sidearm and two magazines. That's it. But if I'm going any more than 30 or 45 minutes away and I'm going to be gone for the day, I don't care if I'm going to be gone for the day and it's only an hour and a half away. There are my ARs with me. There's 4 AR magazines with me, my chest protector, my bunk. I mean, everything. And people probably look at me and go, man, he's nuts.
Nope.
And it's kind of funny. People call us nuts until they need us.
Exactly. Everybody hates the warrior until the enemy's at the gate. Just saying.
And this is one of my favorite sayings. And believe it or not, this is something one of my drill sergeants told me in '95, because I went in, very religious and almost as a conscientious objector, but not quite. I mean, we still grew up hunting and things like that, but I sure as heck didn't want to go to war. And God says, do not kill. And one of my drill sergeants pulled me to the side, and he was the meanest SOB you had ever seen. He goes, I'm going to tell you something, and you better remember this. And I said, Roger that, drill sergeant. He goes, a soldier prays for peace as he trains for war.
Yep.
And that kind of hit me really hard.
Well
the Bible talks about, carry your sword. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak.
Go buy one.
And get a sword.
Yeah.
God, in my opinion, that's God telling us to be prepared. Yeah. Be prepared. He doesn't say you can't defend yourself. Yep. Nowhere in the Bible does it say you cannot defend yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's my EDC, my little SIG. I just got it. Oh my gosh. I just got that thing maybe 3 weeks ago. And I'm using it shoots good. I like the way it shoots. The grip was a little bit thin at first, but the more I hold it, the better it feels.
How's that trigger pull?
Ooh, it's butter.
Smooth, yeah.
Yes. And I've got my first micro green dot.
Nice.
I have never in my life.
What kind is it? Holson, SIG? What is it?
It's a Holson. I couldn't afford the SIG. Yeah. I just bought a SIG. I couldn't do it. Good Lord.
Yeah, I know, right?
The green dot was 400 and something just because it said SIG on it. And it looked just like the Holson for 250 to 300, something like that.
Holsons are the way to go, bro.
I'm getting used to when I push out, being able to find the dot. So ironically enough, I unload my weapon. I make sure it's safe. And I literally sit on the couch with the gun in my lap. I pick it up, I extend, find the dot, put it down. And I'm turning this in. Bro, it's muscle memory.
What's funny is I do the same thing, dude. If I'm on the couch and I'm watching a show or something, and my kids are, of course, I unload everything or whatnot. But as soon as the commercial comes on, I start drawing and putting everything up, line of sight, everything good to go on a person, and I put it back.
I've got things on my wall, and I'll look at the thing on my wall and come up, you know. So, and I've tried the circle with the dot. I've tried just the dot. I've tried just the circle, and I think I like just the dot. I really do. But that's going to be the biggest thing for me is getting used to, shooting with a green dot. But it'll be all right. I live in a place where I can shoot in my backyard.
Yeah, that'll work, man.
And I'm very. Yeah, you need to come visit.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah. And to me, like the green dot picks up better like during daylight than the red for some reason.
I've been told growing up, and even when I was an instructor, I never taught with scopes or optics because I taught old school with iron sights because your iron sights will not fail you. The batteries can't die. You can't crack the screen. Your iron sights. So that's the way I grew up shooting. And I'm all right with that. It's just that darn little dot. Holy smokes! But
so on your pistol, do you actually have like your of course you got your iron sights, but are they like the extended iron sights just in case your Holosun fails? You still got your iron sights lined up?
The iron sights are lined up. I mean, I left them on when I put the green dot on. The SIG that I got is already cut out for a micro dot.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and put one in there. But ironically enough, if the green dot is off, you can look through the
Yep.
lenses and see your front sight and the rear sight also.
Perfect.
But
Exactly.
it's only a smidge. I mean, it's
Uh,
really small, but aim small, miss small, right?
yep.
So, but yeah, you'll have to come up, brother, and bring your friends and come up here shoot or down here and come
Yeah.
shooting.
I'm down, man. Yeah, we'll do that for
And
sure.
we'll visit the North Georgia mountains and see what we can find.
That sounds good, brother. But other than that, man, yeah, if people, of course, people can listen to the show, but if people need to get a hold of you or contact you, if you don't mind, where can
Oh,
people find you at?
ooh, I am on YouTube. They can find me at God's Grace 73.
That'll work. God's Grace
Um,
73.
God's Grace 73. I don't know. Can you send messages through YouTube?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If they find your channel, they can go on one of your videos and they can comment or
There's a
ask.
skydiving video of me with the Wounded Warrior Project. That's the very first thing on my channel. Actually, you could find me on Facebook, but it would be kind of hard, especially since we don't probably a lot of us don't have a connection. But my last name is Crowe, Crowe. First name Robert, common spelling. And right now, ironically enough, my picture for my profile picture is a Mossad patch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so what I can do, brother, is I can get all your info and I can tag it in the show notes, so people
Sweet.
click on it, it'll go straight there.
Because
So
I've got Instagram and stuff like that. I just don't remember what my Instagram handle is, but I'll get you all that information and people can contact me that way also.
that'll work, brother. Okay, last question before we stop, before we leave. Okay, there's no right or wrong answer to this.
Uh-oh.
I always ask everybody this because I actually took this from Sasquatch Chronicles, and I think it's a good question. And
Okay.
the question I talked to you about, I actually took it from the Sean Ryan show too. What's your EDC? Anyways, so what do you think Sasquatch is?
If I had, all right, my first thought when you asked me that, the first thing I thought of was Skinwalker
Mm-hmm.
because
Okay.
he can just disappear.
Yeah.
Allegedly just disappear. There's been people that say, oh, he went behind this tree. We ran behind it and there was nothing there, or he ran into these bushes and we checked, nothing there. So if I had to take a guess, it's either some kind of ape species or it's a skinwalker.
Yeah.
What about
Sounds
you?
good. Sounds good to me. Honestly, man, the more I've been doing this, the more to me, it's endless possibilities. Physical, spiritual, could be skinwalker, government made. Who knows? The more and more I'm doing this, the more and more I realize, the more I don't know.
Oh, dude, that's all. Wait a minute. So you started this podcast and the rabbit hole just got deeper and deeper and deeper. Nice.
That's it, man. That's it, brother. Yeah. And then not only that, before I started the podcast, that's all I was doing was just boots on the ground researching. And
Really?
at first, when I thought Sasquatch was literally just flesh and blood creature, that was it. I thought it was just another form of like a mountain ape. And the more and more I started doing it, the more spiritual and paranormal encounters I've had with it. Some physical, some not. And then doing this podcast, interviewing a lot of people who've done a lot more than I have, who've been in the game a lot longer. People had different experiences. I'm like, okay, I'm just not gonna.
People in different countries having the same experience is what gets me.
Yeah, exactly. And then interviewing from guys from England and Australia and stuff like that, Asia, whatever, India.
They all have a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. Yeah. Everywhere. Yep. A skunk ape or something. Every culture has a story, but it's all the same story. It may look a little different, but it's still the same story. And that's not a coincidence, I don't think.
No.
Here in Georgia, they have found cave drawings of Bigfoots, in caves from hundreds of years ago. Well, they didn't just type that up on the internet and say, hey, let me go look at this. This is way before then. People weren't traveling back and forth. You've got pictures all over the U.S. of Bigfoots carved into things, and they all look the same. South America has the same thing. Other countries have the same Bigfoot etched on rock, but they're in other countries, and all of these are hundreds of years old. So how do you explain that? Yeah. If you come here, one thing I would like you to do is, up north of me where I live is Ellijay, Georgia, and there's actually a Bigfoot museum there.
Oh yeah, we and I were talking about that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not huge. It's not huge, but I tell you what, the place isn't a dump either. It's a really nice little museum. You could probably go through there in 30, 45 minutes. But there's so much activity here where I live of things like that. They actually put in a Bigfoot museum.
yeah, that'll work, man. Yeah, yeah, I definitely want to try that out. When I do, I'll let you know ahead of time.
Oh,
We'll meet
please.
up, check it out, grab lunch, whatever. We'll hang out, man.
Sweet. Sounds good. And
So,
thank you for having me.
oh, 100%, man. I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we got this going. So, other than that, man, that's it, brother. Like I said, easy peasy.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, man. Yeah, before you go though, I'm gonna do my spiel and then don't go yet. We'll
Okay.
chat a little bit
Yep.
more. But yeah, as far as that, guys, yeah, I appreciate you guys listening to the podcast. If you guys got any questions for Robert, I will have all his information in the show notes. And yeah, if you guys want to contact him, hit him up. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. And yeah, man, go hook a brother up. Go help him out. So, other than that, you guys got any questions? You guys got any experiences? You guys want to chit chat? Want to talk? You guys got any prayer requests? Hit me up, cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. That's cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. Hope you guys have a blessed week. Be safe. God bless. And we're out of here.